In this video, I want to give you a review of the last 7 years that I've been using this Portage Main boiler. I really like it. If anything ever happened to it, I'd replace it again. And there are 3 reasons why I think it's a great boiler, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So the first thing is efficiency. Now this is a non-downdraft gasifier boiler. I'm going to be making another video where I compare gasifier to non-gasifier boilers. I've owned both. This is my second boiler, so I've got pretty good insights on that. So if you're trying to decide what basic design to get, you'll want to watch that video. But one thing I've noticed is that although this is not a downdraft gasifier, I can't actually tell any difference in the wood consumption with this unit compared with my previous one. So it's pretty efficient. It burns quite well, and I think one of the reasons why it's efficient has to do with the heat exchanger. So let's go over and take a look. You'll want to have gloves when you work on your boiler. I just keep a pair here right in the boiler. I've let the boiler go out so I can show you more things, but when it's running and I come out here twice a day in the wintertime, these gloves are always nice and warm, so that's good too. This is the firebox. All boilers have a firebox, of course. You have to put the fuel in there. But the heat exchanger is accessed up through here. And it's a double pass exchanger. So at the back, on the left-hand side, that's where the gases come up from the combustion chamber here. And they travel towards us, and then they go around this corner, around that central area there, and then go all the way to the back again, and that's where the chimney is. That's where the stuff leaves. So it's a long conduction path for the gases to transmit their heat to the water, and there's water all around the other side of this steel. So sides, top, and even that central portion actually has water in it. Now, one reason I know that this design of heat exchanger works well, even though it's quite simple, is because I've never once seen a spark come out of the stack of this boiler. And most of the time I'm fueling it when it's dark, early morning, in the evening. I have seen outdoor boilers where you'll see sparks coming out sometime. It kind of looks nice and everything like that, but it's actually a really bad sign because it means there's a whole lot of heat escaping. The sparks are still hot enough to travel out, and there's lots of heat going with them too. So this heat exchanger is one of the reasons I think it works so efficiently. It also happens to be really easy to clean, which is one of the advantages of this style as opposed to the fire tube, downdraft, gasifier type boilers that I'll be showing you in another video. Those can take, well, I used to spend at least 1, sometimes 2 hours every Saturday cleaning that boiler. It worked great, loved it, but it did take that time every week. No such thing with this. I don't actually spend any particular time maintaining this. I just do a little bit of maintenance work most every time I fire it, maybe every second time I visit. And cleaning the heat exchanger is super easy. The unit comes with this long poker, and I essentially use it as a scraper. So I start here. I scrape the top of the left-hand side. Scrape the top of the other side, and then I pull the ash and tar and things together. And remember I said the back of the left side goes into the firebox. So I'm going to push it to that opening, and if you look down here into the firebox, you'll see that ash falling down. So I'm just pushing it through right now. And if you go down here, and there it goes. So I'll do the sides as well. It doesn't have to be squeaky clean. It's actually taking me longer to do this now because I'm explaining it. It's taking me longer than it normally does. But there, that's it. That's pretty well all the cleaning you need to do. If you want to make it really, really clean, because the cleaner the inside surface, the better the heat conduction from the gases into the water. You can just use this chimney brush. Just give it another little sweep. Just to loosen the stuff. And then maybe another push just to get the fine stuff pushed down there. And that's it. So I just I do that maybe once a day when I'm here firing it anyway. Another reason why this boiler burns so well, and come and take a look here, is because there's a lot of thick, heavy fire brick. If you look over, say, over here, you can see the fire brick stops here, and then it's steel. But the fire brick goes down, it's quite thick at the bottom, and in this particular boiler it leads to a shaker grate, which is operated with this handle. The grate moves back and forth and just helps to move the ash down into this pan, which catches the ash. I'll either put it in these steel, not plastic, steel trash cans here. When I actually get into burning for the whole winter, I park a manure spreader right here. It's very handy to dump that tray right into the manure spreader. It'll hold a whole winter's worth of ash, and then just go and spread it on the fields, because this is a decent source of nutrients too. So these are the reasons why it's an efficient performer, surprisingly efficient for such a simple design. That's point number one, why I like it. The other reason I like it is because it's technically simple. There's nothing complicated going on here, as you can see, and I especially like the fact that the electronics are really simple too. So let's go around to the other side, which is where you'll see the electric controls. So, nothing fancy going on here. The fanciest thing is this electric controller, which is very simple. It's not proprietary to this machine. It's made by Penn. They make controls like this all the time. There's the electric blower fan, which pushes air in for combustion, as controlled by this. When the internal water temperature of the boiler drops to the set point, the fan will kick in, the fire will start giving off some of its heat, and then when the internal water temperature has reached the highest set point you have, then the fan will shut off. That's essentially how it works. There's one other thing here. It's not exactly electronic, but it's part of the electronic system. This is a mechanical over temperature device. So if this were to fail in such a way that the fan kept on burning and the internal water temperature in the boiler kept on rising, this thing can be set to sort of the final cutoff. And it's not electric, it's just mechanical. So, well, it's mechanical in the way it senses, and it's electrical in that it can shut off the fan. But that's it. Nothing particularly complicated here. This control unit is actually a replacement. I just put it on. I went to fire up the boiler, getting cool this fall. It worked fine for a while, and then all of a sudden it stopped working and the screen was blank. I made sure there was power to it, called the people at Portage Main. They said, yep, that sounds like a bad control unit. A replacement like that is just under $200, as I recall. Very simple. You can get them anywhere too. You don't have to go to any particular spot. And that's essentially it. This is a lot simpler, technically, than many of the downdraft gasifiers. which work really well. I'm not slamming them as a category, but this is simpler, and I like simple because simple usually relates to reliability. So that's point number 2. The third point, the third reason I like this unit is because it's actually rebuildable. And as far as I know, there's no other boiler design that allows you to rebuild it. And this is what I mean by that. The kind of the danger with one of these things, other than electrical failure, is corrosion. And corrosion is not an issue if you keep an eye on your water chemistry. There's certain pH levels and other levels that need to be kept within certain parameters by adding additives and things like that, and the boiler water chemistry should be checked every year, and that will keep corrosion a non-issue. But if that isn't handled properly, or if for some reason the boiler springs a leak, maybe because of external corrosion, then what do? Well, in most cases, you could try to weld it up or something like that, but and there's no other boiler that I've ever seen that is rebuildable like this one. And by that I mean you can take the sheet metal cowling off, and the whole top part of the boiler actually can be unbolted and removed and replaced with a new unit. I think the job might take half a day, something like that. Now, if you're buying that replacement component, as I recall, I think it's about $4,000 or so. So it's not insanely expensive. It's certainly less expensive than a whole new boiler. I really like that they intentionally made this rebuildable. Not that it's going to matter too much, because I want to go around to the front again and just finish up by showing you a feature of this boiler that I like, and it does contribute to its reliability. So a boiler like this has an internal water tank, and that water is heated by the fire, and then that hot water is pumped to wherever the building is that you want to heat. In my case, I'm heating my house, 2,800 square feet, workshop, 1,200 square feet, and all my domestic hot water. And it works great for that. There's plenty of heat for that. We could probably heat twice as much as that with this unit if we ran it up to full capacity. But getting back to that fire brick thing, what they've done with the design is to completely separate the area where the ash is from the area where the water comes down to. So the water is contained in a location that is higher than the ash ever gets to. And that matters because ash can be corrosive, especially if it sits around and the boiler's not running and moisture builds up. That ash can get corrosive and it can cause corrosion. Now, in some boiler designs I know of, that corrosion can happen in an area where water is on the other side of the steel. But they've separated that here. The ash layer, the ash level, the highest it can possibly ever get, is nowhere near where the water containment part of things is. So by separating that, they're greatly reducing the chance of corrosion that could lead to a leak. And a leak in the middle of winter is not a great thing, because your system's not going to work, it's not going to burn properly. So that's very important, and they've taken steps to greatly reduce that risk. And then there's the reliability, the rebuildability on top of it as well. So this unit, like I said, I see it twice a day. We have, 6 month heating season here where I am on Manitoulin Island, Canada. So I visit this thing a lot. I know it inside out, and I certainly like it. And like I said before, I'd replace it if I ever had to, but I probably won't. I hope this helps. Bye for now.